Spirituality is not a concept easily boxed up or explained in a single sentence. It's fluid. It's felt. This video explores what spirituality is, not just as an abstract idea, but as a lived experience. It spans history, culture, science, and soul. We'll unpack the evolution of spiritual thought, the differences between religion and spirituality, the language of energy and consciousness, and how everyday practices like breathwork, silence, service, or nature immersion can open portals to the sacred. Whether you call it God, Source, the universe, or your higher self, spirituality is the journey of remembering who you truly are beyond the noise. Spirituality has always been part of humanity's story. Long before organized religion, early humans danced around fires, spoke to the sky, honored the elements, and lived in rhythm with the land. These primal rituals weren't entertainment, they were communion. They were about honoring the unseen forces that gave and took life. As civilizations formed, these spiritual instincts were woven into cultures and belief systems. In ancient India, Vedic scriptures described the Atman, an eternal soul connected to Brahman, the infinite consciousness. Indigenous traditions spoke of spirit animals, ancestors, and the Great Spirit. Taoism taught of flow and harmony with the Tao, and Buddhism pointed inward to discover nirvana not in heaven, but in releasing attachment here and now. Over time, spiritual insight became codified into religions, which provided structure, stories, and rituals to help guide people toward the sacred. But the essence of spirituality always remained a direct personal connection to something greater, both within and beyond. It's actually pretty common these days to hear people say, "I'm spiritual, but not religious." This distinction really matters, especially today when institutional religion has lost trust for a lot of folks. But to understand the difference, we need to break it down a bit. Religion is, at its core, an organized system of beliefs, practices, moral codes, and community structures that are all centered around a higher power. It often includes sacred texts, places of worship, leaders, and shared narratives. Spirituality, on the other hand, is way more about the inner experience than outer form. It doesn't require church, temple, or guru. It's personal, experiential, and honestly pretty inclusive. While religion can inspire spiritual growth, spirituality doesn't actually need religion to exist. You can feel deeply connected to the divine while just sitting in silence, walking barefoot on the earth, or even holding someone's hand in a moment of grief. That said, the two aren't enemies. Religion can be a really powerful spiritual vehicle. The teachings of Jesus, the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, the rituals of Judaism, the poetry of Sufi Islam, all of these have sparked profound inner transformation for, honestly, countless people. Problems start to show up when institutions prioritize control over connection or dogma over discovery. That's usually when spirituality breaks away and goes rogue. Back to those wild, open spaces of direct experience. At the heart of spirituality lies one big question: who am I? Most of us end up living our lives identified with our personality, job title, appearance, or maybe our life story. But these are just surface layers. Spirituality calls us deeper. It kind of whispers, you are not your thoughts. You are not your trauma. You are not your body. You are the one who is aware of all these things. This inner awareness, what some folks call the soul, higher self, or pure consciousness, is not separate from the divine. It is divine. And recognizing that, well, that's the beginning of the journey of awakening. Spiritual practices like meditation, breathwork, fasting, prayer, or solitude help us shed the ego's illusion and return to that core self. They reconnect us with our true nature, love, stillness, expansion, and unity. Today, spirituality is undergoing a renaissance, fueled not just by tradition, but by quantum physics, neuroscience, and expanded consciousness. The veil between science and spirit is thinning. We now understand that everything is energy, vibrating at different frequencies. Your thoughts carry energy. Your emotions emit signals. The space between atoms isn't empty, it's filled with potential. This is where modern spirituality meets the ancient teachings of chakras, meridians, and life force, prana, or chi. When your energy is blocked by trauma, stress, resentment, or fear, you feel off, anxious, stuck. But when your energy flows freely, you feel aligned, open, joyful, grounded. Practices like Reiki, sound healing, breath work, and somatic movement don't just help mentally or emotionally, they recalibrate your energetic field. Consciousness is the next frontier. It's not just brain activity, it's the field in which all experience happens. David R. Hawkins, in Power versus Force, introduced a scale of consciousness, mapping states like shame and fear at the lower end, and love, joy, peace, and enlightenment at the higher. As you rise in consciousness, your perception shifts. You feel less like a separate self and more like a wave in the ocean of existence. There's no one way to be spiritual, but there are, many doorways. Spirituality invites you to experiment, explore, and create your own relationship with the sacred. Here are some practices that help ground spiritual experience. First, meditation. The art of being still, listening and observing without judgment. It trains the mind to go beyond thought. Then breathwork, using intentional breathing to release trauma, access higher states, and restore balance. Prayer is another one. Whether to God, the universe, or your higher self, prayer is a conversation from the heart. Journaling is a way to process your spiritual insights, emotional waves, and inner guidance. Nature immersion, reconnecting with the natural world, reawakens your place in the web of life. Sacred ceremony, from sweat lodges to cacao ceremonies to full moon rituals, marks transformation and deepens intention. And finally, gratitude and presence. The simple act of being here, now, and appreciating life is a deeply spiritual act. Each person's path will look different, and that's the beauty of it. Spirituality is not all light, incense, and good vibes. True spirituality invites you into the shadow, into grief, rage, emptiness, fear, and ego death. It's about integrating, not bypassing, the full spectrum of human experience. Suffering often becomes the gateway when life brings loss, breakdown, betrayal, or illness. It shatters our illusion of control. That's when the soul steps in. That's when you start asking deeper questions. That's when the spiritual path calls. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Shadow work, the honest facing of your wounds, patterns, and projections, is essential to authentic spirituality. It turns pain into power. It heals generational trauma. It awakens compassion. At its core, spirituality is about connection, not separation, not hierarchy, but unity. You are not alone, and you never were. You're connected to everyone and everything. Plants, animals, the stars, and strangers. When we awaken spiritually, we start to feel that web. We stop competing and start collaborating. We treat others as sacred. We see ourselves in the eyes of the other. This shift from me to we is not just poetic. It's necessary. Our planet, our communities, and our inner selves are yearning for unity over division. Spirituality isn't just about inner peace. It's also about collective healing. When one person raises their vibration, they help raise the field for all. Today's spiritual movement is less about gurus and more about embodiment. It's about being fully human and fully divine. We're learning to integrate spiritual wisdom into our food, relationships, activism, careers, and digital lives. This wave of conscious living includes, well, first, mindful consumption, choosing food, media, and goods with awareness and gratitude. And second, conscious communication, which is all about speaking truth with love and listening with presence. Then there's sacred entrepreneurship, building businesses and brands that really align with your soul purpose. Spirituality isn't about escaping. It's actually about embodiment. It's living wide awake, on purpose, right in the messy, miraculous now. So, what is spirituality? It's the part of you that wants to grow, to love deeper, to heal, and to remember. It's what calls you to the mountain, the temple, the journal, or even just the breath. It's the practice of being fully alive and connected to something more than your own story. And honestly, it's the courage to face your shadow, hold space for others, and walk through life with intention, compassion, and awe. You know, it's not a destination. It's a homecoming. And honestly, there's no one right way to define spirituality. It's not a checklist or a label. It's a living, breathing relationship with your soul, the earth, the cosmos, and the present moment. It doesn't require robes or mantras, just honesty, curiosity, and, a willingness to feel. If you've watched this far, then maybe something inside you is stirring. Maybe your spirit is nudging you to go deeper, to slow down, to reconnect. Wherever you are on your path, know this: you are already spiritual. You don't have to seek it outside yourself. You are it. The light is already inside you. You just have to remember. So, breathe, be here, and begin again. Subscribe, like the video, visit beonewithme.com. More is coming, from the heart, for the soul. Remember, a smile can make someone's day. The right words may change their life. I love you. Be you. Be one with me.